Welcome to Reading Your Resume with Non-Military Eyes with Lauren, and I'm a career coach here at the university. And as a military member, transitioning, or veteran, you have unique experiences to offer your future non-military employer. And we want to help you understand how to translate these experiences and make your resume shine so that you are able to show outside employers who you are and how your skills and experience are relevant to the positions that they are looking to fill. So today we are going to discuss the purpose of a resume, translating that experience, and tailoring your resume. And then we'll have a question and answer time. So like I said, if you have any questions, you can feel free to interject while I'm speaking, or we can wait till the end. I'm fine either way. So let's hop in here with the purpose of a resume. So what is a resume? A resume is a tool in your transition toolkit. It's important to have the right tools in order to get the job done. In the same way, having a resume reflecting your passion, vision, talents will demonstrate to the employer who you are and how you will add value to their company. Resumes are not biographies, and they should be written to highlight the desired experience and skill for the employer. You are going to want to ask what specific skills and abilities are required for the position, and this will help you stay focused when you're writing that resume, ensuring that you meet the targeted needs of the employer. Knowing the purpose of the document can help you stay on track when you're translating your experience, and this will ensure that you avoid common missteps when transitioning careers and creating that resume. When you are transitioning, you'll want to translate your experience to over communicate its relevancy to the targeted role. So don't be afraid to write it directly for that employer and use that job announcement to find key terms to translate your experience. Now we're going to hop into translating experience. So, what exactly does that look like? So you'll want to remove the jargon. So hiring managers aren't typically trained to read a military resume. If the resume is not in military terms, it can be overwhelming with acronyms or unfamiliar terminology. And this can cause the person who's unfamiliar with those items to kind of glaze over, not really understand what they're looking at. Terms that may be impressive to you might not be understood by others. So it's important to translate that into common language for that specific industry that hiring manager would understand. So this doesn't just apply to military members. So we're not just picking on transitioning military members, but it really applies to anyone transitioning from one industry to another. So if a business professional is transitioning into education, they're going to want to highlight the trainings they've developed and conducted, maybe the colleagues that they've mentored, instead of communicating gain and loss data margins or product delays and changes, which could be appropriate to highlight on a business resume. This can especially be true for those transitioning in the military, though, because the military verbiage is so specific to the military. Even if a hiring manager does understand the military content, it could still pose an issue in that they might think that your abilities and scope of understanding do not extend beyond your military experience. And you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. You want to show them that you are able to transition and you are able to transfer those skills that you have acquired through military into other areas and industries. So there are websites that have skilled translators. Um, these websites are able to help with translating your skills. And in a minute, we're going to specifically talk a little bit more about skills and how to include them. But you're definitely going to want to check out military.com and mynextmove.org. And I will go ahead and actually drop those links in the chat so you can have access to those websites. So let me go ahead and copy this and drop it over here for you guys. All right, so those websites have those skills translators, which can be very beneficial in the transition process. So seeing a resume that's full of acronyms, so moving down to number 3, removing acronyms, can be very overwhelming for a reader. If you must include an acronym, you just want to be sure to completely spell that out first, the first time you use it, and then you can put the acronym in parentheses. Like the example I have there, operational security is OPSEC. If you put OPSEC all through a resume, the reader might not have any clue what that means. And although it might have a solid meaning to you and you completely understand, we need to, again, look at these resumes through non-military eyes. If you were not a part of the military, would you know what OPSEC is? So making sure that we spell it out clearly first and then put that abbreviation, that acronym, in parentheses, just so the reader understands what we're speaking of. So I do have a list of common military term translations that I will go ahead and pull up. Um, so this is a list of some of the more common military terms and their possible translations into non-military vocabulary. And I'm actually also going to put this list in the chat just so you can have access to that as well. So we can look at this and we can see, instead of chief petty officer, calling a team leader, instead of subordinates, employees, coworkers, direct reports, a 31E, telling the reader exactly what 31E means, because someone not in the military is not going to understand that terminology. Calling barracks and other buildings, facilities. These are just easy substitutes that you can use in this transition that will make it more easy to read, give your resume more of an inviting feel when someone unfamiliar with military terms is looking at it. So the last part we're going to go over today is tailoring. And when you are writing your resume, you want to write it specifically for your targeted employer, using the job announcement that you have found and using specific words from that job announcement to help boost that resume, to show the employer this is what you're looking for and I have those skills. An important thing to do when writing that resume and tailoring it is to keep it simple. You want to stick to the highlights, have clear sections and headings, check for spelling and accuracy, provide measurable data, only include hard skills in a skills section, and avoid irrelevant information. And we're going to dive deeper into each of these right now. And if you have any questions, like I said, feel free, you can drop them in the chat, you can interject, but we will go through these. So the first one is stick to the highlights. So you only want to list relevant skills and accomplishments. No matter how impressive they may seem to you, highlighting what your employer is seeking within your resume is always the priority. If it isn't pertinent information for the reader, it won't have any value to them. And there's always going to be room for further discussion during an interview. So if there is something that you're like, man, I would really like the employer to know this, but it's not really relevant information, you can leave it off the resume. And then in that in person interview, you can drop that information in during the question answer period with that employer. So, sticking to the highlights will also help you keep the length of your resume under control. Generally, a private sector resume is 2 pages max. So you're going to really want to tailor that information to give the employer exactly what it is that they're looking for. Also, it's recommended not to go back more than 10 years unless your experience directly is related to the position that you're applying for and you haven't already reflected that experience in a sufficient way in another area in your resume. So if you have a job that was 15 years ago, or you did something prior to the military and it can partner with the skills that you learned in the military to help with that transition, even if it was a while ago, you can still feel free to include that information if it's not highlighted somewhere else in your resume. You're going to want to have clear sections and headings. So you want your resume to be easily scannable. In general, a recruiter spends about 5 to 10 seconds looking at a resume before making a decision. So you will want your information to be organized and easily found. If your resume is a wall of text or has columns or graphics, this could cause issues with the applicant tracking system, which is generally the first line in the first program that goes ahead and vets those resumes before they're handed off to hiring managers. And if it doesn't pass the applicant tracking system, then most likely no human eyes will ever see your resume. So the point of writing a great resume is to beat that applicant tracking system so you can get in front of that hiring manager. Next, you're going to want to check for spelling and accuracy. As someone in my job, I often review resumes, and there's nothing quite like seeing someone tout themselves as having great attention to detail and then seeing varying formatting issues or simple typos and grammatical mistakes throughout the document. So you want the hiring manager to focus on the content of your resume and not on your mistakes. As a side note, speaking of attention to detail, we don't recommend putting attention to detail on your resume. Listing attention to detail or detailed oriented does not tell the employer how you demonstrate that skill. You might consider providing more detail to show an action or duty where you had to pay attention to detail and what those results were. So that would be a way to put that on there without saying attention to detail or detail oriented. Next, and probably most importantly, I mean, like it would be very high in the importance list, is including measurable data. So, numbers, dollars, percentages, frequencies within your bullet points, whenever you can, will help convey the scope and impact of your actions. This will provide additional content, and the reader's eyes will be drawn to the numbers on the page. Terms like a lot can mean many different things. Often, several, many, few are very vague. So you're going to want to get specific and use exact measurable data to convey the scope of your responsibilities. Numbers don't lie. Using measurable data will paint an immediate picture of your responsibilities, skills, and capabilities without worrying about specific translations from military to non military language. Numbers are numbers, whether it's in the military, the business sector, education, wherever you are, a number is a number and they don't lie. And hiring managers love to see numbers on resumes because they stick out. They got 5 to 10 seconds, impress them with the numbers. After measurable data, you're going to want to include hard skills. So we're going to quick talk about the difference between hard and soft skills. While Hard skills are job specific and are usually acquired through formal education and training. Soft skills are more personality traits that make you a successful employee regardless of your role. So, specifically, hard skills are teachable skills by which your proficiency can be measured, such as your experience with software, equipment that you can use, languages that you speak, and other knowledge and abilities required to perform specific tasks related to your job. Examples of hard skills could be data analysis, coding, programming, technical writing, Spanish, French, any languages. Those are hard skills. Different industries will require different hard skills specific to their type of work, and you'll want to highlight these in a bullet pointed skills section to make them stand out. Specifically, those that are mentioned in the job announcement, you want to be sure that those are part of a skill section. What you don't want in a skill section are soft skills, which are personal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively with others in a workplace, like leadership, creativity, communication. Don't assume the employer will believe that you possess these skills just because you put them on a list. It's more effective to demonstrate how you have used those skills, to craft statements within your experience section to provide context for those skills that are listed on your resume to prove when, how often you use those skills. Again, back to that measurable data. What you really want to avoid in writing this transitional resume is irrelevant information. Um, Anything that could skew an employer's opinion of you, you want to leave off. Religion, height, weight, marital status, favorite movie, color, food, anything that has nothing to do with the position, you're not going to want to put it on there. Remember, you only have 2 pages to give them the best of your experience. So avoid irrelevant information. So, how do you know that you have been successful in creating um, a transitional resume that is understood by non military eyes? Well, you do a non military peer review. How have you been successful? Give your resume to someone who does not have a strong knowledge of the military. And if they don't ask you to explain anything, then you've hit the mark. So, finding a friend, you can send it into us at resumehelp@apus.edu and we can look over it for you. Um, we're happy to do so. We do offer resume reviews and we can help you with that transitional resume to make sure that you are putting it in plain English terms that someone in any industry could understand and demilitarizing the wording. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, yeah, absolutely, Logan. Um, like I said, this is recorded. If you have any questions, you want to look over it again, review the information, you're able to do that. Also, we do have some upcoming events happening for career services, and I'm going to drop the link to our events page in the chat just so you can go ahead and see that and have access to it. Right, so here is the link for our Splash That page for career services events. We are here to help you transition. We want to see you succeed. We want you to do well. And so, any questions that you have, anything that you might need, feel free to reach out. We are always more than happy to help. So, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And if you need anything, please let us know.